I'm your host, Zach, and this is the Hoop Junkie Podcast, where we talk all things hoops. If you're looking for another podcast to make that long drive a little less terrible, or even looking for an excuse to get out of speaking to your coworkers, this is the place for you. Enjoy the show.
There's a dude with 35 in white getting it done defensively and then offensively, taking over the final. Mama, there goes that man. Anything's possible. Anything's possible.
Not a game. Not the game that I go out there and die for and play every game like it's my last. Not the game. We're talking about practice, man. I mean, how silly is that? And we're talking about practice.
Pulls off three-pointers. Bang! Bang! It's good! Wins the game at the buzzer!
Hello, welcome back to the Hoop Junkie Podcast. First things first, please hit that like and subscribe button on whichever platform you are consuming this junk coming out of my mouth. As always, we're joined by the production team nightmare, Chance Baker.
What up?
My gambling degenerate friend, TC.
It's me.
Hi, what's poppin', gentlemen?
Yeah, sorry, I'm officially known as the production team nightmare now. Just had to change my mic like 6 or 7 times before we got started, but now I'm comfortable. We're ready to roll. How you guys feeling?
I'm ready to drop some heat on this mic.
Well, look, guys, today we got a good show. Look, on today's show, we're going to cover who's hot and who's not, do a little trick-or-treating since it's the Halloween season, and give a look ahead to next week. But first, let's cover some news from the association. Monday night, after losing to the San Antonio Spurs in a game where Anthony Edwards went 3 of 15 from the field, his star running mate, Karl Anthony Towns, had this to say in his presser.
Maybe I could do a better job of teaching him how to take care of his body, diet and everything. So that'll be on me. I know y'all think it's funny up here when he talks about Popeyes and all that. That doesn't make me happy to hear. We're high-level athletes, so.
After those remarks, Ant would respond with a 34-3-9 game and lead the team to 2 straight wins. In an appreciable attempt to stand up for all persons with taste buds across the country, Popeyes did what all great empires would do. They sent a tweet saying, "Good luck to every high-level athlete who eats Popeyes, regardless of what their teammates say. As a proud person with taste buds myself, I speak for all of us and say, thank you to Popeyes for your service." Shout out to the hometown team. 2K's official season sim had the Memphis Grizzlies grab the team's first NBA title in a 7-game series against the Philadelphia 76ers, with the one and only Ja Morant taking home Finals MVP after being on a heavy routine diet of Popeye's chicken and biscuits.
Let's hope that one comes true. I'm here for it.
Congrats to the Bay's very own Golden State Warriors for becoming the most valuable basketball team in the world, being worth a whopping $7 billion. Good news for Joe Lacob and the crew, because if they ever decide to sell the team, that money could be used for a whole week's rent in Pacific Heights.
They're going to need that money to pay that luxury tax bill too, so it's good for them.
Just hours after he signed with a Chinese basketball association, Shanghai Sharks, veteran guard Eric Bledsoe was arrested for domestic violence. A photo was posted to Eric Bledsoe's girlfriend's Instagram account after the incident, appearing to show a red mark on her face. The caption said, "No relationship like this is ever worth staying in." Good for her for standing up for herself, and we pray all parties get the help they need. According to Woj at ESPN, due to the large market contenders such as Golden State, Brooklyn, and the Los Angeles Clippers running up massive payrolls and luxury tax penalties, the NBA is proposing a system that will replace the luxury tax with a hard limit that teams could not exceed to pay salaries. Sources said the National Basketball Players Association is firmly against this, calling this a non-starter with negotiations. The NBA and NBPA are working to reach an agreement before the December 15th deadline, that each side has to give notice of plans to opt out of the current CBA in December of 2023. The 7-year CBA expires after the 23-24 season. And in a shocking turn of events late Friday night, the Spurs released a 19-year-old guard, Josh Primo, with no notice. Later reports indicate Primo had multiple alleged instances of him exposing himself to women. Other sources close to the situation are saying Brett Favre is keeping a close eye on this situation from his Mississippi home. Also, if you're into watching the next great basketball prodigy, Victor Wembanyama, you can watch all of his games now on the NBA app. The Houston Rockets just downloaded the app in light of this news.
Wembanyama is currently averaging 19 points per game, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists while playing only 30 minutes. This guy is next level.
Kyrie Irving is in the news again. Shaking my head. Yeah, just Google it. I'm not touching this one. Now back to the show.
Who's hot, who's not. So there's been a few teams and players in the NBA over the past couple weeks that have really shown out. They're looking good. And there's a couple that had high expectations that are just not living up to standards so far. So we're going to start with the only undefeated team left in the NBA, the Milwaukee Bucks. They are 5-0. Giannis looks right back into form, looks like another MVP contender already so far in the year, just putting up massive numbers, like 2K-like numbers. What do you guys think about the Bucks from what you've seen so far?
They currently have the number 1 defensive efficiency in the league. I mean, these guys are locking it down.
Yeah, I mean, and they're doing this without Chris Middleton. He's still out. We don't even really have an exact timetable on when he's coming back. That's just another playmaker and another guy that can score off the dribble. I really don't even know when they're going to lose. They have a pretty easy schedule coming up, so very curious to see how they look over the next week, but they're definitely the hottest team in the NBA right now.
And I think when you look at like continuity, they kept their main core players together. It's easy for them to just pick up right where they left off, and man, they look great.
They do. So speaking of guys that look great, Luka Doncic, your boy Zach, he is on an absolute tear so far, which is great to see because I feel like we get in this situation every season where like October and November, Luka's just kind of chilling, trying to get back in shape from whatever he did over the offseason, but not this year. Like he has just came in from day one and looks incredible.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Chance, I'm on the Luka Doncic propaganda train now, man. I've been seeing some stuff, and I feel like my boy is getting disrespected out here, man. Luka Doncic, he leads the league in usage rating, but, you know, normally people talk about that being a bad thing, but the Dallas Mavericks are also number 1 in offense. So we know what that's telling you, that Luka Doncic is an offensive machine himself. And so it's a cool thing to see him starting the season off in better shape this year. Last couple of years, he came in as Hookah Doncic instead of Luka Doncic, but it's nice to see that Luka Magic is back.
Yeah, he is. I think the biggest thing that will get him discredited is their record so far. They're 2-3 through 5. Last night's game was just insane. They're up by 16 with 4 minutes left to the Thunder, and then you let Isaiah Joe just run off 3 straight threes, and you end up blowing the game. What was that? They said it was like the second team in the last 25 years to blow a 16-point lead with 4 minutes left.
Yeah, man, it's like something like over 9,000 teams that were in those situations. They still won, and there's only 2 teams that ended up losing, and my Dallas Mavericks are a part of that history now. Just like one of those teams that was up 2-0 in the finals, and then Whistlegate happened.
Yeah, for sure. But I think a lot of that, and you'll probably agree, a lot of that is on Jason Kidd too. I think Luka's doing everything he can. Christian Wood looks great next to him. That's a great duo so far. So very curious to see if they pick it up. We'll move on to the Atlanta Hawks as another team that's hot. This team, they got the big acquisition of DeJounte Murray, and that has just been a great fit, in my opinion, so far with Trae Young. It gives Trae a chance to play off the ball a little bit and not have so much pressure on defense guarding the other team's lead guard.
Still scoring over 30 points a game, too.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great situation, and I know, Taylor, you've been keeping your eye on the Hawks closely. What have you thought about what you've seen so far from them?
DeAndre Hunter, I mean, he looks like a valuable piece for those guys. I mean, he fits right in. He's averaging 13 points per game, 4 rebounds, somewhere around 1 to 2 assists. I mean, he's not an all-star caliber player, but you can just see it when you watch the game. He's the glue. He's the glue to the team, and they just look like a well-oiled machine when he's out there. And John Collins just looks primed for a good season. The guy's averaging 2 blocks per game and 1.2 steals right now.
Yeah, John Collins looks incredible so far, and he was on the trading block like all offseason, and now they've come out, and he looks like a great fit next to those 2 lead guards. I'm curious to see, do they go ahead and hold on to him and roll with him, because they're rolling right now. They're 4-2 through their first 6.
2 blocks per game, 1.2 assists per game. I mean, steals per game. This is easily the best defensive start he's ever had to a season. If he can keep this up, I mean, that team is someone to watch for.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And you think about it, that's always been the biggest knock on John Collins is his defense, right?
Yep.
And then you put John Collins playing a little bit better on the defensive end of the court on that team who desperately needs more people besides Clint Capella and DeJounte Murray to play defense. I think that's solid for them.
Yeah, they're looking good. So we're going to move over to Madison Square Garden's finest, the New York Knicks. So they looked good in their opening game against the Grizzlies. They went toe-to-toe towards the end. Now that looks like to be a pretty good loss because the Grizzlies look like they might be another top-level team. But moving on since then, they handled the Pistons pretty handily. They beat the Magic, beat the Hornets, and then ended up losing to the Bucks the other night. But Jalen Brunson looks like one of the signings of the offseason. That guy is worth every single dollar of that contract so far.
That offense looks so much better with him at point guard than they did last year. I mean, these guys, they don't even have R.J. Barrett playing at a high level right now. I mean, what is he? He's shooting 15% from 3 right now, 38% from the floor. I mean, the guy is not playing anywhere near what he's capable of, and Jalen Brunson just keeps that offense moving. I mean, they're grinding out these wins. It's really fantastic. I'm excited for the future of the Knicks right now.
Yeah, and it goes to say, man, like as a Mavs fan myself, and people were sitting there questioning, like, is Jalen Brunson really worth all of this money? And I was saying, Jalen Brunson is worth that money. He's worth the bag.
Absolutely.
You saw it in that game against Charlotte. He had 27, 7, and 13. Jalen Brunson is a real deal. And then you look at, like, in the situations where the Knicks in the past, they used to look around and say, all right, who's going to get the ball? Like, or would give it to Julius Randle and let him dribble around to the left side, get a turnover. Or
pull up from mid-range over and over.
Yeah, they were so predictable, but now I think adding a true point guard to them, it definitely helps with them. And the thing that I'm watching for the Knicks, it's not about this year for me. It's about this core that they're building around with this team. The Knicks might be a destination city at some point in the future.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you've got Brunson. We've said so many good things about him. I just love how he just plays at his own pace. He's always in control, and he really makes the guys around him better. They just haven't had a lead guard like that in so long. And, I mean, Cam Reddish is trying to find his role off the bench. He actually has a lot of potential. They have a good young core. We really want to see a little bit more out of R.J. Barrett, but I definitely like how they look so far.
Yeah, with R.J. Barrett, as far as R.J. Barrett goes, man, I'd like to see him pick up his assists. He's averaging around 2 assists right now. I want him more involved in the offense as far as playmaking goes. Now, I'm not even worried about the shooting percentage. He'll get that up. But if he can average, anywhere between 3 or 4 assists for this team, to help out the playmaking with Brunson, they could legitimately be a top 6 team in the East. To me, I think they can stay out of the play-in.
Yeah, I think so for sure. So moving on, one more duo that I want to talk about as far as who's hot is a couple of the rookies from this rookie class, Paolo Banchero and Benedict Mathurin.
Sizzling.
We have been so hot on both of these guys from the very beginning, and Paolo, he looks like an 8-year vet out there the way he's playing and getting buckets against these boys.
He can get a shot anytime he wants it. That guy creates his own buckets. I mean, he's averaging 24, 8, and 3, somewhere around that. I mean, the guy's even facilitating. The defense will come around. I'm just really excited for the future of this league. I mean, if you have guys like Paolo Banchero coming into the league every year, I mean, this league's going to be unbelievable in the next 5 years.
Oh, yeah. The biggest thing for me is everything he's doing is all, like, created on his own. Like, none of these are assisted buckets. Yep. They're just putting the ball in his hands. He has so many different moves in his bag to get where he wants on the court. He can drive in, take contact. He can pull up from mid-range. He's got that little sidestep 3 to his left that he hit a couple times in their last game. And his playmaking, like you said, he's making everyone better. He had like 4 different assists to Mo Bamba in their last game where he's just getting Mo Bamba to look like a 10-10 guy.
Did you see the alley-oop?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
This is a guy that's out there. I thought when he was going to come out, he was going to get like 20 points a game, but the playmaking is something that's really surprised me. Obviously, he needs to keep working on defense. He's in a losing situation, so he'll have his bumps along the road, but he looks incredible. And then we've got to get on my guy, Benedict Mathurin. This guy is just a bucket from anywhere on the court.
Coming off the bench, too.
Coming off the bench. We'll see how much longer that lasts, but when you think about Benedict Mathurin and Tyrese Halliburton as one of the best backcourts as far as like young duos in the league, I am so excited for the future. I mean, this guy, his shot is so smooth. He gets his release off really quick. He has a great first step. He gets wherever he wants, and I'm really excited for this rookie class.
He seems to have the Kobe mentality.
Oh, yeah.
That guy's just a killer.
They always say this, but Benedict Mathurin has that dog in him for sure. He looks incredible.
What did he do the other night? There was like 30 seconds left in the game. They could have just ran out the clock. I think they were down like.
Oh yeah, he goes for the steal.
Yeah,
half
he's that guy. Yeah. He's still going to keep playing to the last whistle no matter what. I love his game. He's got a great attitude. He's going to continue to get better. I mean, the guy's scoring 30 points in like his 5th NBA game, and he's going to continue to get better. I can't wait to see what the future holds for that Pacers backcourt. So we've talked about who's hot, but there are a couple teams that are just struggling right now, and they are just not it. So we're going to start with one of the most controversial teams that's going on right now, the Brooklyn Nets. They have just not had it on the court. I mean, what's crazy about this team is Kyrie and Kevin Durant are both doing their thing. They're getting 35 points a game, and they're still losing because they cannot get a stop. And a lot of that...
29th in defense efficiency. 29th.
Yeah. It's like everybody's getting their career high. Like Benedict Mathurin, his big game just now was against the Nets. You saw John Bain both put up over 35 against them. It's just like trash cans out there on defense. They cannot stop anybody. They've got Nick Claxton on the back line trying to protect the paint. That's not working out. They tried Ben Simmons at the 5, which I do think could be a better fit for him, but he just doesn't look, 100% back to himself yet. And this team is struggling. I don't really know what to do with this team right now. They're like 1-5 so far, and they do not show a whole lot of promise as far as getting better. What do you guys think?
Well, so my one takeaway from the Brooklyn Nets situation is I think we've got to pump the brakes a little bit. This team has had the toughest schedule in the league so far,
and they've competed in every game.
Yeah, and they've competed in every game. But you think about like at one point, I think it was like back to back to back. You have Ja rolling in, and then you got to deal with Luka, and then you got to deal with Giannis, all in the same week. That's tough for anybody. Now, yes, are there some serious roster deficiencies? Like, who is their big man? They don't really have a genuine big man on that roster.
Right.
They're playing Nick Claxton at center, which is great. He's a great tweener guy, but they need a solid guy to clog up the center of the paint. I heard like Stephen A. Smith and Jalen Rose throwing around this week someone like a DeMarcus Cousins. DeMarcus Cousins was never known for his defense. However, the Nets are that desperate where they might need to take a flyer on somebody that's just big and can just sit there and clog up the paint. Because if you sit there and you look at the type of defense that they're running, that's where they're getting killed at. Kyrie and KD are having both having MVP caliber years as far as what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball. But if you look at their defensive side of the ball, they're struggling. And that's where I have to bring up my friend Ben Simmons. I believed in him, but when you bring him over to your team and you expect him to do two things, facilitate and defend, he's not doing that for them. So they've got to figure that out at some point.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He's got to step it up.
And my biggest thing with the Nets is I think the big thing with the NBA is like you want to have a good culture like in your locker room. So you look at a team like our hometown Grizzlies, the Warriors are another good example. They just have that culture fit within their locker room, whereas the Nets, it's just like we're 6 games into the season, and we're not going to go into all the details like we talked about, but Kyrie is just already starting some stuff 6 games into the season.
Don't forget, they don't actually have a head coach. They're all, borderline coaches.
Yeah,
they just run it by the players. Yeah, Steve Nash is just there. And I hate it because Steve Nash is one of my favorite players of all time, but he just does not seem to be the answer at head coach so far. He doesn't make any adjustments. Their defensive game plans are atrocious, and so I don't see this team turning around. They've got the talent, but I mean they're already having crazy drama happening 6 games into the season. I don't see things getting any better, but we'll see what happens from here.
Check this out. I think after this week, one thing I'm pretty certain on is though Kyrie Irving will not be a Net next season. I think it's pretty clear. If you look at the tweets between Joe Tsai and him, I don't see how there's any way that relationship is going to go forward.
He might not be in the NBA next season. We'll see. Moving on, we're going to go to the Los Angeles Clippers. So this is a team that was one of the favorites to win the title going into the year. And between injuries, load management, whatever you want to call that, and just general non-dysfunction on offense, this team has not looked great so far. You've got Kawhi Leonard, who played his first couple games. He's only playing 20 minutes a game. It's been a year and a half since he got injured. And I'm starting to just wonder, like, is his body just breaking down to where he's not that guy that can play 30 minutes a game anymore at all?
That's definitely possible. And another thing is with them, as far as watching them play, you expect guys like Norman Powell to step it up. John Wall or, any of these guys, Luke Kennard. None of them are really stepping up to the plate and giving them the playmaking, defense, shooting. They're not stepping up to the plate and giving them any of those parts of their game to help them get these wins without Kawhi and without Paul George. Paul George sat out the other night. I mean, I played a props bet on Norman Powell over 15.5. He had 7 points. He played 33 minutes in the game, and he had 7 points. And they had no Paul George, no Kawhi Leonard. I mean, these guys have got to step up to the plate, or they won't. They won't be a top 6 team in the West. They may not even make the play-in if it's that bad. I mean, they have to have these role players contribute.
Oh, yeah, 100%. So we're going to move on to the 76ers, the team that was struggling a little bit going in. They won their last 2 games without Joel Embiid playing recently. Tyrese Maxey has just really stepped up and looks like a superstar out there. And so I'm really curious to see. They might be in the next category next week, but as of now, I've still got them in the not category because they really started slow. Harden is looking a little bit more like himself, but that also comes with the other 4 guys standing around watching him as he's just dribbling out the paint. So where do we see the 76ers moving forward?
I will say in the game I watched the other night against the Raptors, their offense looked a lot more fluid without Embiid out there. I'm not saying they're better without Embiid. I'm saying the ball was moving around. Guys were getting open threes. They were getting layups. The ball wasn't just dying in Embiid's hand and him in the post. It was really fluid. It looked great. That was the best I've seen him looked all season, and Embiid wasn't on the court.
And and I think Doc Rivers has probably one of the hardest jobs in the country. When you think about having to take 2 big-time isolation players and make them fit in a roster together, so I mean that's something that we're gonna have to just keep watching because you would think the talent would override all of that. However, but sometimes there might be a chance where they might just not be able to make it work.
All right, so we've gone long enough without discussing everyone's favorite team, the Los Angeles Lakers. That's the final team on our Who's Not segment. When is this team going to win a game?
0-5.
0-5 so far. They thought Westbrook might have been the problem. He sits out. They still lose. Obviously, Frank Vogel wasn't the problem. So what is the issue with these guys?
They just don't have the offense. They can't score enough points to win a game.
Yeah, their defense looks pretty solid.
Yeah, it's a struggle bus for them guys. I mean, when you have LeBron surrounded by Patrick Beverly, Lonnie Walker, Anthony Davis, who at points, what was it in the bubble? He could shoot the 3 in the bubble.
His shot has completely failed him the last couple
He's shooting it
of years.
off the side of the backboard.
I was sitting there watching some Anthony Davis Pelicans highlights from just a few years ago before he got traded, and man, you watched how fluid his body moved. It reminded me how being from Dallas, I watched Dirk throughout his 20-something years, right? And you look at year 5 Dirk, he was taking the ball up the court, crossing people over, and then year 20 Dirk was just catch and shooting, right?
Yep, just spot up.
And it's like AD has basically done what Dirk Nowitzki did over the course of a 20-year career, and he's done it in the last 5 years.
And the problem with him is he wants to be that spot-up shooter, but he's not making his jump shots.
He's not. And
he can't spot up Westbrook.
No. Yeah, this team is a complete mess on offense. I mean, we've talked about it before. When you're relying on Matt Ryan and Austin Reeves as the core of your bench, It's just a disaster. So I guess that leads us into our next segment. What do you think, Zach?
All right, let's do some trick or treating. So, guys, on this next segment, we're going to do a buy or sell, but we're going to do a little Halloween-themed trick or treating style. How's that sound for you guys?
Sounds good. So if we pick trick, that basically means we're selling them off. Or if we pick treat, that means we're buying it.
Exactly. You got it. Bingo. So, gentlemen, trick or treat, the Lakers will start 0-9 on the season. So the next couple games, they've got the Nuggets, the Pelicans, the Jazz, and the Cavs all at home this week.
I'm buying that. I say treat. I have just seen nothing from this team that makes me think they can beat any of these teams. I mean, looking at the schedule, you would think originally that the Jazz would be the one that they're going to get. But the Jazz actually look really good so far this year. I don't see them beating the Nuggets or the Pelicans, and the Cavs look awesome too. I don't think they have enough offense to score against any of these teams. I think they're going to start 0-9. I think they even play the Jazz another time after that. They might be 0-9, 0-10. I'm buying this. I think that they're going to be 0-9 to start the season.
I'm going to rival that. I'm going to say Trick. And I say that because I think they squeeze out a win tonight against the Nuggets.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. I'm taking a money line. Get ready. Big bucks on Lakers tonight. You guys heard it here first.
What do you think, Zach? Is this trick or treat?
I don't know. I think I'm buying it. I'm going with Chance on this one. I'm gonna go and give him the nod, man. You sit here and you look at the Nuggets, the Pelicans, the Jazz, and the Cavs. I get it. They're all at home this week. You would think some home cooking is gonna come to play, but you gotta think about it, man. Lakers home games, other teams, they love coming to play in LA. On top of that, and this Lakers teams, you look at their body language, it looks bad, it looks miserable. And there's no guarantees of what Anthony Davis's health situation is right now. Is he gonna play all these games, or is he gonna play one or two of these games?
And Westbrook's coming off the bench, so he's gonna hurt his hamstring because you cannot come off the bench and not hurt your hamstring. So that's happening too.
You know what I mean? Yeah, his back's gonna get tight because he's been sitting out too long or whatever. But I will say I do amend Darvin Ham for trying and putting him on the bench. I do think Russ did play better coming off in that reserve role. But yeah, I just don't see it. So I'm going with Chance on this one.
You guys don't think that LeBron can carry this team to one win in the first 10 games? Are you serious right now?
I mean,
one win.
This is not the Miami Heat LeBron that we're talking about. I mean, he just has nothing around him at all. Anthony Davis, he's going to hurt his back in the first quarter of one of these games. Like, I just do not see it on offense. They've got a great defense so far, but I don't see them putting up the points on any of these guys. When you've got like Lonnie Walker, Russell Westbrook as your like third best player, this roster is just not built to win. I'm telling you right now, we're going to be in this room recording next Sunday, and the Lakers are going to be 0-9.
The formula for LeBron's teams, his whole career has been LeBron runs the show and surround him by shooters. And what have the Lakers done? The exact opposite.
The exact opposite.
Yeah, they just gave him a whole bunch of firemen and plumbers. The one thing that I need the Lakers to do is, I need them to start winning because, personally, we cannot allow the Pelicans to get that pick. And right now, it's looking like the Pels are going to have the number 1 or number 2 pick this year in this year's draft.
That's a scary situation. That has me scared for Halloween more than anything else.
And I think no one's talking about this enough, I feel like. And I feel like this is something that I don't care what needs to happen, but I remember when David Stern came in and nixed that whole Chris Paul deal to the Lakers. We need something like that to happen in favor for the Lakers this year.
yeah, it's a disaster right now.
I'm not a New Orleans hater either, but I just can't even fathom that team with Wembanyama, with Zion,
Brandon Ingram,
C.J. McCollum, Herb Jones.
And as a Grizzlies
Trey
fan,
Murphy.
And as a Grizzlies fan, I mean, I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah, man, it'd be tough. Now, look, let's move on to the next team. The Blazers are a top 6 team in the West. Are y'all trick or treating?
I'd have to go trick on this one. I'd have to sell that. I think the Blazers look good so far, but there's just so many good teams in the West. I think they'll be right outside. I do think they've solidified themselves as a team that's going to be good enough to get in the play-in and possibly win in the play-in and make the playoffs. But when you look at the Warriors, the Mavericks, the Grizzlies, there's so many tough teams in the West. I think they'll finish just outside, and you've got Dame, who's already hurt. He's out for another couple of weeks, possibly with the calf strain. He's getting older. He'll probably get banged up again at some point. So, I mean, I love this team. I love watching them play. I love the duo of Dame and Anthony Simons, but I don't think they're quite good enough to be a top 6 team in the West. So I'd have to say trick for that one.
I'm going to go treating. I'm going to buy this. And that's different from how I started the season, preseason outlook-wise. Dame's out 1 to 2 weeks. Their role players, I honestly believe they're good enough to suffice while Dame's out. What do they have? 2 weeks. They may play 7-8 games. I believe they can go 500 in that span. That puts you around 10-5 with Dame returning. They're 9th in field goal percentage right now and 10th in three-point percentage. These guys are being efficient, and I mean, they just get buckets. And their defense, it's not like they have one of the worst defenses in the league. I mean, through 6 games, they're top 10 in defensive efficiency.
Yep. The one thing I worry about with the Blazers is Dame with the calf muscle. That's a core muscle injury, and so that's something that could end up lingering for another 3 to 4 weeks. I thought he looked so great. The first opening game, he didn't look like he had that explosiveness, and I was kind of questioning them. But ever since that first game, he just looks like prime Dame again. Simons is unbelievable. He had that one game where he had like 20 points within like 3 minutes. Like one of the biggest heaters I've ever seen.
And the rookie Shaedon Sharpe, he's actually looked pretty decent for them. He's putting something together for them. So,
yeah, I love his game.
Yeah, so I like it. I mean, but for me to sit here and say they're going to be a top 6 team in the West, dude, the Clippers still haven't figured it out yet. And if I'm betting money, I'm betting that Ty Lue's Clippers are going to figure it out. And so for me to say top 6 team, I can't go with it. So therefore, I'm going to have to go ahead and sell it.
I'm going to put them right on 6. I'm putting them right on 6.
I definitely think it's possible. I'm just a little bit worried about their long-term sustainability with Dame's health and with their surrounding guys. But I would not be surprised at all if they find a way to get in that 5-6 mark. I love watching them play for sure.
All right, gentlemen. So trick or treat. The Cavs are a top 3 team in the NBA.
I'll start this one off. I'm treating.
You think
I am
so?
buying
Top 3
the
in the whole NBA.
I am buying the Cavs. I mean, we have the Cavs here, and they have top 5 in true shooting percentage, top 10 in both offensive and defensive efficiency, which does not surprise me. I mean, these guys are playing both ends of the court. I mean, you look at Jared Allen down in the paint. I love that guy. I mean, he just grabs every board that comes his way. And they just look great. I mean, I don't have any issue with saying that they're a top 3 team in the NBA going forward.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me with them is, I've said before, Darius Garland is one of my favorite young point guards in the NBA. He hasn't even been playing since the opening night. But Donovan Mitchell has just really elevated his playmaking in a situation that he didn't really find in Utah. He's really gone back to his roots of being a playmaker first. He's the new point god, absolutely. Having said all that, there's no way I could put them as a top 3 team in the whole NBA. As much as I love this young Cleveland Cavaliers team, I think they are just a little bit outside of that mark when you look at, the Warriors, the Bucks, even someone like the Mavs, Grizzlies. The Suns are looking good up there as well. I can't quite put them in the top 3, but man, they are fun to watch.
Man, TC, I'm with you, dog. I'm buying it all the way, man. You sit there and look at the Cavs, the type of team they got. I think Donovan Mitchell, he will look back at being traded from Utah to Cleveland instead of New York, honestly, as one of the biggest blessings that ever happened for his career.
It's a great fit for him.
Here's why. He's surrounded by nothing but length and long, wiry defensive people that are able to cover up some of his lack of defense. And then all he has to do is worry about just going out there, distributing the ball, and then scoring the ball. That's all we need you to do, Donovan. And he can do both of those extremely well when you're not expecting him to have to carry a team in all these other different ways that